แล้วจังคอยฟังโอ้ยละนา Somebody Lady and gentlemen The boy and the girl I saw sing เซิงบองไฟ
Good evening and welcome to Radio National. This is the Lonely Hearts Club for the first time, episode 1. And for those of you who normally share the pleasure of Doug Spencer at this hour, fear not, Doug will return to the airwaves tomorrow night. And the Saturday edition of The Weekend Planet will be back on ABC Radio National from April 9, according to the Gregorian calendar. But if your need for Saturday Doug is burning, the Saturday edition of The Weekend Planet is available as I speak. Go to abc.net.au/RN and look for The Weekend Planet. And now, it's time to meet my fellow Lonely Hearts. We are joined, of course, by the wonderful Terry Wood.
Hello, Richard, and all Lonely Hearts everywhere.
The choreographer to the stars, some would say, Lucas Dawson.
Ring-a-ding-ding. It's their catchphrase.
And probably the man who's the most professional out of us all, holding down a full-time job as a freelance, Duncan Jardine, esteemed second unit director.
Thanks, Richard. I don't have a catchphrase at this point.
You can borrow ring-a-ding-ding if you...
I'll throw it in.
Yep.
Or you could get a good one.
Yeah, I just like to say a lot of fans of Dougie Spencer will be feeling a loss right now. I don't think a lot of people are aware that he records all of the music on his show himself.
Really?
All of his world music. I think he's in Bhopal this evening.
Do we have any world music coming up tonight to...
We do.
allay the fears
Relevant
of
to the
Dougie
show.
fans? Or?
We've got George Benson is coming all the way from Broadway.
Give me the night.
Give me the night, yes.
Will there be any Michael Bolton? He has some Zimbabwean in him.
Oh, lucky fellow.
On a
Lucky
regular
fellow.
basis.
I've brought in Bertie Higgins' Key Largo. That always
God,
sounds good.
how I loved him so.
To have up the sleeve.
I am Richard Silk, I guess the anchor of this show, the Lonely Hearts Club. It's an 8-episode series about love, loss, laments and ladies, hosted by us. But before we find out more about who you'll be spending the next 2 months with, the weekends, Saturday nights, it's time to hear from the Queen of Rock herself, Ms. Tina Turner, asking the eternal question, what's love got to do with it?
Ring-a-ding-ding.
The private dancer herself, Ms. Tina Turner, of course. Tina Turner held the record for the eldest female soloist to have a #1 song until it was broken by whom?
Betty White?
No.
Taylor Dane.
I don't think she was older than Tina.
The leggy Rhonda Birchmore.
No,
Close. It was the lead singer from Starship. She
yeah,
was,
Grace
I guess
Slick.
there was argument that she wasn't a soloist, but with We Built This City, followed by, she broke her own record with Sarah, the follow-up single.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for joining us on the Lonely Hearts Club here on ABC Radio National. ABC has given me some instructions and asked you, our esteemed listeners, to visit a website with the address http://www.abc.net.au/rn/THELONELELYHEA.
just say Lonely Hearts Club, I think.
How long is this show?
And why is there a / after club? I mean, is that important?
Okay,
Or is
well,
it-
I do worry about Doug Spencer fans because a lot of them just tuning in now will be confused. But it did appear to me, Richard, from what you were saying, that Spencer fans are well catered for across the weekend.
They are. He'll be on tomorrow night, and of course they can listen to him digitally. But if you do like doing things digitally, we have a Twitter account at Lone Heart.
Do we?
We have a Facebook account, Lone Heart.
Who's servicing this?
I have some people that
No
have...
/ in there?
No. I have a crew of gentlemen working out of Ceylon who are actually providing some social media content at a very reasonable rate.
salon?
Ceylon.
Ceylon.
Ceylon in the subcontinent.
And how many do you have in charge purely of the forward slashes?
Well, we have a nice little chap. He's an Australian expat, actually, and met a lovely young lady called Sarong. Who,
Expat?
Yeah, he's an Australian gentleman, and love
What's his
took him
name now?
overseas.
Oh, he's an...
No, his name was not Pat. He wasn't Patrick, and he changed it to Edward.
I would imagine that Doug Spencer fans are feeling very confused right now, Richard. What is this show about?
The Lonely Hearts Club is an attempt to give some lonely men a place to visit and to talk about their insecurities, love, loss, ladies, and they're able to do it until midnight every Saturday night throughout February and March and even the 2nd of April.
And when you say some lonely men, you're talking about us.
Ostensibly, yes. I have to be careful with my words because I did present it to the ABC hierarchy that they would be failing to realise their charter. In accordance to their charter, they must provide and represent the demographics of Australia whilst entertaining them and giving them a voice. Of course, we have little or no radio experience. Of the four of us chatting, Terry, I believe, is the only one who's actually been on radio
What have
before.
you been on?
I did some country radio from 99 to 2003.
Which country?
No, what happens, Lucas, is you do the show and then if it's successful enough, it gets syndicated around rural country Victoria.
What was your show called?
It was called Boys in the Wood.
Wow.
Right.
And,
In the Riverina district.
yeah, that's where
I take it wasn't successful enough to get
No, just the 4 years.
in the
So
Riverina.
I did it in the Riverina and then it got played throughout
To what,
Victoria.
The
Riverina?
Riverina.
Yeah, to the rest of the Riverina. So,
He was in Albury and Wodonga, Lucas, and of course I know you're from Yass originally in
yes.
New South Wales,
Yes.
where your dance academy originated.
Yeah, Move Yass. It started off in Yass and now I've gone to Melbourne. We have now studios in Melbourne, Sydney, Adelaide, Perth, Brisbane and Thursday Island.
Great. And Duncan, I hope you don't mind, but I'm sort of segueing across to you to reveal some of your professional background. We didn't really cover Terry's primary occupation as a youth, which was a professional Aussie rules footballer. But you, Duncan, you've actually tasted the highs professionally in the film industry, haven't you?
I am what is known as a second unit director. For people who don't know, you've got the first unit, that's people working with the actors. Second unit is, I'll give you an example of what a second unit director might do. City Homicide, that's a show I'm working on at the moment.
Great.
Let's say you're on location.
I thought that had been cancelled.
It's back in a series of 2-hour specials.
Okay, right.
It's Hanging On with Grim Life at the moment. And you might have a scene, say, as we did recently with Shane Bourne, is on location and a corpse has been found hanging from a meat hook.
Yep.
And Bourne's out in the car park looking, oh, gee, what's this about? They get it into the edit and they realise there's an opportunity when Bourne's looking off into the middle distance to have a great shot, establishing shot of an abandoned meatworks.
Yeah.
That's when I get the call.
Oh, yeah.
Back out on location, get the shot, beautiful sunset kind of thing, cut it in, and there you go. Now the thought is complete. Bourne's thinking, who's responsible for meat hooks? Oh, the meatworks. Now the viewer understands.
So you're Bornie's POV.
I am, and that's a small drop in the ocean, but when you see the program without that shot of the abandoned meatworks, the whole thing would just fall to pieces.
Do you have a close relationship with Bornie?
I don't really do much work with Bornie. I mean,
Does he know you by name?
I didn't actually see Bornie. I'm just doing the meatworks later. He's not there. Somebody's standing in. You've got continuity standing in.
Forgive my ignorance, but the magic of being a second unit director is that the exterior shot, I think you called it, of the establishing shot of the meatworks, the building may not actually be meatworks.
No, that's right.
What?
It's all creative framing. You might just get, say, a busted up 7-Eleven, and with careful positioning, you go, well, that's saying abandoned meatworks. It's a lot of creative work.
And Jardine's Eye, which is something that I certainly know that when we all met at the men's group in Healesville,
The Healing Sanctuary.
rural Victoria, things were very Jardine-esque. We were told to look at things through a different eye and be a bit more considerate about those who we were slagging off.
Absolutely.
Guess you should explain, Richard, relationship breakdowns is what all caused us to meet.
Well, I'd like to clarify regarding the men's group that I was only there because of my agent, Kevin Baby Doll Nixon, who got me... It was a present, really. It was just a voucher to go to the men's group. So I'm not really...
But Wendy, you said to us that when your ex-wife Wendy Wood left you...
Yeah, it was mildly relevant. I think basically that my agent had run out of gift
You
ideas.
cried for about 3 hours.
You had us
Well,
throwing darts at photos of her.
That's right.
Well, when you're married for 16 years, the first couple of years post a divorce is quite hard, and often they tell you to throw darts.
Well, I think you're covering up your emotions there. I mean, I certainly know that we all shared some emotions. I mean, you guys know that I recently finished a very good relationship very badly. And this person took not only my heart, but also, things that I won't name, namely my iPod. And if you're listening, I want it back.
Many would describe that as a bad relationship that ended badly.
Okay, guys, we'll get out the African drums and we'll have a session whilst the listeners listen to a fresh young artist by the name of Sally Seltman with her wonderful tune, Harmony to My Heartbeat.
You're the harmony to my heartbeat, baby.
You're listening to ABC Radio National. That was Sally Seltman with Harmony to My Heartbeat. It's nice when people are optimistic about love. I'm joined, of course, if you've just tuned in, by Duncan Jardine.
Hello.
Lucas Dawson.
Ring-a-ding-ding.
And could you stop doing that,
Yeah, are you doing
please?
that the whole show?
It's a catchphrase.
Okay, I think
Yes.
I need it. Can you introduce me again? I'll try one.
Okay, that was Sally Seltman. It's just after 10 Saturday evening. We're joined by Second Unit Director Duncan Jardine.
Lights, camera, action.
Terry Wood.
Ring-a-ding-ding.
No.
See, it doesn't...
Here we go. So you've turned that into your catchphrase.
I think it works better, that's all.
It doesn't say sports journalism to me.
That's a good point.
Choreographer Lucas Dawson.
How old's your father?
Yes.
So,
I wanted to say ring-a-ding-ding, but I'm not going to...
okay. Yes, Terry, we are, of course, four lonely men here to talk about love, ladies, loss and laments. Would you mind sharing with the listeners how the four of us actually came together? Originally meeting in Healesville, a rural retreat in regional Victoria.
Well, as I mentioned before, my agent got me a voucher to this men's group, but he did apply because I'd recently divorced after 16 years of marriage, and so we headed up to Healesville. That's where the four of us met, with this men's group.
How do men's group usually work?
Well, I thought it was odd because they lined us up before we actually entered the building where most of the meetings took place.
It was a barnyard, house thing.
It looked quite flammable, and I was concerned about going in there at first. But anyway, they lined us up at the front. I thought a little bit military
Firing
style.
squad.
It did feel a little bit like that. Basically, I think the way that the four of us ended up in our group was by playing marbles, which I thought was very, very odd.
That's right.
I want my Tom Thumb back, by the way.
Well, you'll get it back.
Yeah, well, we originally had to line ourselves up in order of charisma, didn't we? And I think Terry and Lucas was certainly fighting over the number one position.
That
think
fight
if you've
continues to this day.
If you've got moves, do you know what I mean? Like, I think charisma, a part of charisma is pizzazz. And I have,
Well, I fail to see how pizzazz is important in the healing of the aftermath of a disastrous marriage or relationship.
Okay,
that
all
felt
right.
irrelevant.
As a second unit director, what about the words that the show must go on?
Show must go on, but that's different. You see, I
Why?
don't. Largely, I'm working with inanimate objects. You know, cups being put down on coasters.
Okay.
Numbers ticking down on a time bomb.
Okay.
Charisma doesn't enter into
No, and
it.
I was going to say, Duncan,
Borny needs to look at a factory, at a meatworks.
Sure.
They say to you, we need it. Do you say, no, I can't do it because I'm done, I'm tired?
Well, the charisma
show
part
must
of the
go on.
equation, that's someone else's job. I can't really instill pizzazz in an abandoned meatworks.
and also considering what you do, Duncan, when it comes to charisma, I thought it was quite appropriate for you not to line up at the front. You were quite happy to go to the back.
I was happy to bring up the caboose, as it were.
Yeah, but someone who's done many a public speaking at conventions and sporting clubs all around the country, I felt quite comfortable lining up at the front. So that's where the problem with Lucas and I began.
Did you
because
rehash the same jokes like you do at all those functions?
if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But that's where we've had some problems because I don't really know what Lucas does, and the little that I do, I don't really respect it. So,
Well, I guess it's lucky for the four of us that I was in numero uno in far as the charisma stakes were concerned on that day. I will just put a little caveat on that you all signed forms when you arrived, pretty much under the auspice that it was an official document. However, I had left the form out without the knowledge of the men's group. Thus, you gentlemen actually owe me 8 weeks of your weekends. You unconsciously...
I'm still thinking I might get someone to look that over.
No, trust me, it's watertight. But
it does seem to be legally binding. We are all here.
I think we've made peace with the idea. We've now committed to the concept. We may be able to help the listeners, but I have to say early on, I mean, look at this, some of the promotional material for this show. Have a look at this, Lucas. Lonely Hearts Club, for loners, about loners, by loners. That makes us all sound like Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah.
Like we're up on the roof with a bolt-action rifle.
Very popular with the ladies, Lee. Big Mel Torme fan, Lee Harvey Oswald, yes.
Okay.
The Velvet Fog, Lee Harvey, some used to call him the Velvet Mist.
Do you think this is really helping?
Well, we certainly have people coming in. We have experts coming in, Duncan. We have some lady experts that will be joining us throughout the series.
That's one of my favourite types.
We have the naturopath to the stars, Sally Mathrick. She'll be joining us shortly to discuss a little-known ailment that's taking over the world, sweeping the world. In fact, I believe it's the celiacs. I don't know if you know what that means, Terry, but I'm sure Sally will explain.
Sounds like something Lucas might have.
See, here we go. See, this is exactly it. Intolerance. He knows all about intolerance.
When you
Wheat,
say to the
lactose.
stars, Richard, Sally is a naturopath to which ones in particular?
Duncan Armstrong.
Right.
He's
Who's that?
He's a gentleman who swam.
Oh, yeah.
He won the 200 metres in the 1988 Seoul Olympics. You know what? Matt Biondi was unbeatable. Unbeatable swimmer. Okay?
Yes.
And he rode his wake for most of the race and then powered past Biondi.
I would guess that right now Doug Spencer fans are very confused.
Well, perhaps this will help them. We've got a young gentleman who's from Africa. Well, George Benson. He's a beautiful man with a beautiful moustache with Give Me the Night. It's Saturday evening, February 12th, 2011. You're listening to the Lonely Hearts Club on ABC Radio National.
And can I mention, Richard, if people want to get on board the club themselves, there's plenty of opportunities on the internet, Twitter, at Lone Heart. What is it? Why is it Lone Heart? Why not Lonely Hearts Club, I would have thought would be.
The IT department at ABC Radio National informed me that there was only a certain amount of letters you could have in your...
Right.
Well, how, in that case, well, on the website, why have we got about 50 letters and 5 forward slashes?
Oh, we wanted to share the wealth. I mean, the people who can afford the internet probably can't afford Twitter.
Duncan, is there a forward slash in the Twitter account or whatever
No,
it
it's
is?
just at Lone Heart. Facebook,
The
Lone
show's not
Heart.
called Lone Heart.
No,
But
it's
is
very
there
confusing.
a...
Follow it.
Is there a name for the at symbol? Like ampersand for the and symbol?
Okay.
Well, it's good to see we're tackling the big ones tonight
Android?
on
Well-
Radio National.
Well, you are listening to the Lonely Hearts Club, and no topic is taboo here. We will be talking about men's hearts and men's health and men's hip pockets.
Yeah.
And, of course, all in the pursuit of happiness. Here to help us in our pursuit with a little bit of guidance and self-medication, we actually have the naturopath to the star.
Duncan Armstrong.
Thank you. Duncan Armstrong's not the naturopath. We have the naturopath to the stars, Sally Mathrick. Sally, welcome to the Lonely Hearts Club.
Thank you, Richard.
And might I say you look incredible in that ballroom gown. What's the occasion?
Well, I just thought I'd pop in before I went off to the midnight ball.
Wow. Wow.
On the arm of Duncan Armstrong, or we...
There is a confidentiality kind of
Okay.
Right.
thing I have to
naturopaths.
be wary
Having
of.
said that,
He
are there
already-
any other celebrities that you... You don't have to say the names, just say their initials or their names.
Okay, there are a couple, and they're mostly rock stars.
Oh, my God.
There is someone with the initials PL. And if you have any thoughts as to who that may be, jump on our Facebook page with whatever the address that Duncan mentioned before.
I do know for a fact that Sally, that my good friend Sally, the great weightlifter Robert Cabas, and
Hang on, I've got it. Peter Luck.
Peter Luck.
It is Peter
Is it?
Luck.
Wow.
And she sees him in winter, which enables him to look so great in summer. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, on ABC Radio National. We're here to talk business and self-medication. Sally, before the boys distract you anymore, we want to get you off to the ball. What are we talking about this week?
Well, Richard, there are two things we wanted to talk about this week. One was a gastrointestinal problem, which a lot of people face in association with gluten. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And also, we thought maybe because Valentine's Day is just around the corner, we might talk a little bit about aphrodisiacs.
Goodness. I mean, that sounds like it's
Dangerous.
something that Lucas might be interested in if we're talking about gastro there.
Very much so. It's one of my aphrodisiacs.
If you have a question for Sally or any query of the medicinal nature, give the Lonely Hearts hotline a call. Its number is 1300 653 891. One of us will get back to you at a more respectable hour.
probably not me though. I should just put that out there. I won't be answering phones.
Okay, Sally, well, I'd like to kick it off with a question for you directly. What is gluten intolerance?
Well, it's intolerance to gluten.
Wow.
And this is a serious problem, isn't it? They're not just a bunch of fusspots and persnicketies demanding different courses at a restaurant.
That's
I have
right.
to say, my ex-wife Donna was a celiac for a number of years, and I never took the problem seriously. I just thought it was a lot of fuss budgetary, and probably that's one of the reasons I'm sitting here now. It is a serious problem. It's not to be made light of. Take us through it.
That's right, Duncan. It's very serious. Well, they're actually, it's funny because the layman understands gluten intolerance in two different ways. So one, it can actually be an autoimmune disease, which is very serious, called celiac disease. And what happens there is that gluten or the gliadin molecules actually stimulate the immune system to degrade tissue and actually break down the villi, which are the little finger-like protuberances in the small intestine, and it flattens them out, which then reduces absorption and nutrition, therefore you become malnourished.
Wow.
So that's one form of gluten intolerance as we understand it, which you can detect through blood tests, and it's very serious. It's an autoimmune disease, so you have to be very strict with your diet in that case. So perhaps, Duncan, your wife was that way inclined.
Wasn't. So you're saying a smooth intestine is a bad thing?
A smooth small intestine is a bad thing. So the small intestine's got heaps of little finger-like villi, they call them villi, and that increases the surface area of the small intestine, which allows heaps of space for absorption to happen, because you need to absorb all those little nutrients into your bloodstream. So you need more surface area, which is what the villi do.
I would have thought the absorbing process was well behind you once it got down to the lower intestine.
But we're talking about small intestine.
Right,
So,
the small intestine.
yeah, so you've got your stomach,
Yep.
then it goes into the duodenum, which is at one part of the small intestine.
Right.
Then it goes into another part of the small intestine. It goes all the way through the middle part, and then it squirts into the large intestine.
Oh, jeez.
And Sally,
go
just
through
this may be a little off topic, but can you confirm or deny that there are 27 sphincters in the human body?
Oh, what? I'm going to have to get back to you on that, Richard.
Why would you?
Well, you spend some time in a low security remand centre, you learn these things. Sally, what is gluten exactly for our listeners? What are some products that have gluten in it?
Okay, so gluten itself is a protein type, and there's quite a few different individual types of gluten, and essentially it makes cereal doughy or elastic, or it makes it absorb things, so it's glutinous, so it's gluggy, if you like, and we like the taste of it. You'll find it predominantly in wheat and rye, and sometimes in oats as well, but certainly in barley. So the main things for celiac people are those things. I mean, oats sometimes you can get away with, depending on the severity of your sensitivity. But if you're wheat intolerant, which is also called gluten intolerance, it's not as serious. So it's not actually an autoimmune disease. It's more just a sensitivity to the wheat gluten, which is the gliadin.
Actually, that's interesting. There was a kid in one of my dance classes a few years ago who was supposedly wheat intolerant or allergic to wheat, and he was honestly one of the biggest whingers I've ever had. Like, all the dance moves were too much. He had a sore foot. He was sick. He had an itchy ear. Like, he wouldn't do any of the moves. Is there a correlation medically between wheat intolerance and whinging?
There could be. I mean, hypochondria sounds like what you're talking about, and maybe he's just a super.
He wasn't afraid of heights.
No, but perhaps he was just super duper sensitive, and I think that's one thing, that people who have sensitivities to foods can be quite sensitive.
Just whinging.
Yeah. I should just tell you, Sally, that you did lose me from about gluten is. In saying that, it sounds quite serious. What can you do, though?
Well, the main thing you can do is avoid gluten.
Oh, yeah.
I would also avoid answering any of the phones that have just lit up too, Richard, for the next 5 minutes.
We have...
Caller intolerance.
we do have a message.
Celiacs ahoy.
We do have a message here from Phil via Facebook, who's celiac. He says, self-medication awesome, so manly, so expedient, so right.
That's not really a good
meant
thing to read out on the radio, though, is it?
Well, maybe let Sally decide.
Unless someone...
Is that would you say that's a good idea?
Sally, these whingers, celiacs, how much is left that they can actually eat? How many items? Because I have what's called acid reflux syndrome. I'm allowed to eat apples and water most of the time. It's pretty much down to those two. How much is left for the celiac?
Look, there's heaps of stuff left for the celiacs, and they can have lots of different grains which aren't gluten containing, so buckwheat, quinoa, amaranth. There's lots of sort of more exotic grains, I guess, because our staple is wheat, but we can go outside the square, if you like, and start investigating other types of grains. And of course, all the other food doesn't contain gluten. All natural food, like, eggs don't contain gluten, and meat and vegetables don't contain gluten. But one of the issues, I guess, Duncan, which I think we should underline, is that a lot of processed foods actually contain gluten, even though they might not contain wheat. So you're looking at things that have modified food starch in them, or malt starches, or hydrolyzed vegetable protein, or textured vegetable protein, or even natural flavouring. Sometimes that's wheat in disguise.
Do they have to plan ahead? Like if you're a celiac and you're out driving and you go, I fancy a fast food burger, can you just pull in at a takeaway? Will they have... Should there be a special drive-through window for your celiac at your fast food chain?
Well, celiacs isn't that common, but wheat intolerance is more common. So, I think that, it'd be a great idea to expand the repertoire of offerings for people who are a little bit more health conscious and don't want to eat wheat.
How does one identify that one is suffering from either allergy?
Well, the celiacs you'd certainly know about because...
Whinging.
Yeah, and with both of those you could be whinging about because they create a lot of indigestion and bloating. With the wheat intolerance, it doesn't happen as soon as you eat. It'll happen maybe even up to a day or two after you eat, and then you'll get bloating, flatulence, you'll have stool irregularity and indigestion, basically.
We've actually got that in here at Radio National, stool irregularity.
Yeah, we'll actually talk about furniture at another time.
Can I just say, much like anaphylactic people, this does sound made up.
What's anaphylactic mean?
Sally's a doctor. She's actually coming here.
I'm just saying, with the layman's view, how it may sound, it does sound a little bit made up.
Terry, please sit back down in your seat.
Those phones have lit up again.
Let's just take a moment out. Let's pause and think of those less fortunate, those who miss out on breakfast of a wheat variety. Sally, would you stick around just for a little bit longer, because I have a segment that I think Terry will really like, organised with you, covering aphrodisiacs. Perhaps this might put you in the mood, Terry. It's time to visit the hard line, according to the man himself, Mr. Terence Trent D'Arby.
Ring-a-ding-ding.
Yeah. Hello to anyone with an irregular stool.
Get up out of your rocking chair, Grandma!
Dance, little sister, so gentle in his instruction. Terence Trent D'Arby. To recall, there was some debate as to whether or not he was a she.
Wow.
I think he spent a period in excess, did he not?
He did.
He got the call up.
Insatiable appetite.
For J.D. Fortune, who now lives in his car.
It was which
John
In Excess,
Stevens was the lead singer too, wasn't he, for a time?
Lucas, which In Excess film clips did you choreograph?
Kick.
Kick
was
yes.
was the first one, and then
you did Mediate. I know.
It's interesting. No, I was offered Mediate,
right.
And then we got to the first day of rehearsals, and Tim Farriss. I won't mention who it was, but Tim Farriss.
Hence them throwing the words that end in 8 in the bin.
Yeah, absolutely. But the thing is, even to this day, Farriss.
Which one?
Who's the drummer?
John.
John. What an idiot.
Hey, come on.
No.
Where did Gary Beers stand?
Oh, look, he's somewhere
Isn't
between Farriss and Derby.
Duncan, isn't it Gary Beers?
No, it's Gary Beers. I think his name was just Gary Beers, and he went, I think another Gary's.
Well, if anyone would like to confirm if it's Gary Beers or Gary Beers.
Why would it be Beers?
Well, he was a generous fellow.
Seems unusual. I have to say...
They both don't work, if you want.
Can I just point out, we are getting a lot of criticism on the social media for our attitude towards celiacs and towards gluten-free to people.
Our attitude or Terry's attitude?
Well, we have been, gluten intolerance. The phrase whinges has been used too many times.
Which, of course, Lucas, you used first.
I was asking a question. Yeah. I wasn't making a statement.
Well, put a question mark at the end of it. It will help everyone. We are here joined by Sally Matherick, of course, naturopath to the stars.
She's been quite sensible.
Yes, but those stars, of course, Peter Luck, Duncan Armstrong and Robert Cabass. Before Terence Trent D'Arby, we were speaking about gluten intolerance, Sally, and, if it is in fact a real condition. Let's change tact a little bit and talk about something interesting.
Sure.
What else have you got for us?
Well, I thought, Terry, just because we're so close to Valentine's Day, that love will be in the air, and aphrodisiacs might be something that the listeners would be interested in talking about.
Here we go.
Well, what is aphrodisiac? It's French from Latin?
I think it comes from Aphrodite.
Yeah, she was a wonderful dancer in Caulfield.
And the goddess of love, I think, as well.
Well, perhaps you're revealing a little too much of your midweek binges there, Sally, but I'll have you know that she's a lovely lady and well respected in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne. Aphrodisiacs, we were discussing what they are in the approach to V-Day, which is Monday night. I know I've been dreaming of all things V. What is aphrodisiacs?
So, an aphrodisiac is something that creates or arouses sexual desire.
Okay.
Gluten would be an aphrodisiac?
Well, probably not, actually.
Can I ask you a question? I've always found that duck and Pinot together are an aphrodisiac, and I believe there is a medical thing there. I believe it is something to do with the enzymes in the duck and the booze in the grapes that, when melded together, create a bit of the old how's your
I think
father.
it depends what order they go in. If
If you're going to drink it, it comes in as once.
Do you,
I
do you
always
mean
get a
duck
bit-
as in like the animal?
The duck, yeah, like a breast of duck, maybe some. Let's say Peking duck. Okay,
I'm not sure you can
Peking
say
duck and Pinot.
I don't know that you can say breast on radio.
Okay, well, let's say the leg. Well, that's a bit rude.
Why don't you say the whole bird?
Look, either way, when I have duck and Pinot, I get very how's your father.
What is it with
Is there a
yours?
medical correlation?
Look, I couldn't really comment on that, but I'd suggest that if you're experiencing that, Lucas, then as something that's arousing or inciting sexual desire, then it is an aphrodisiac for you.
So it can be a purely personal thing. then.
Well, I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, right.
I think so. There are certainly some substances which, have been shown and legendarily are aphrodisiacs. But, I kind of feel like if you're really healthy and vital and you're keeping yourself really fit, then everything's going to be working well
you.
and you're going
Thanks
to be...
for noticing.
Yeah.
If,
well, you're welcome.
for example, you're not living a healthy lifestyle and you're not keeping yourself fit, let's get a bit of a list going. What are some of the things you could whack on there on the shopping list to get things moving?
Well, yeah, I think all you need to do is Google aphrodisiacs and you'll find a barrage of things on the internet that suggest and purport to be aphrodisiac.
Oysters?
Now, well, that's one. Due to their zinc content, so that's
Zinc.
something. Zinc,
The zinc gets things going, does it?
That's why Shane Warne's always been so successful.
maybe. Well, zinc's really important for men, particularly because it's emitted from the body in semen, and so zinc is a very, very common deficiency.
Take
for
anything
men.
back there.
And just a shout out to all our naval boys in Afghanistan and the Gulf at the moment.
Is it all food and drink though, Sally? Because I found during my playing days that there was...
Here we go.
There was 99 games for Fitzroy, that there was no bigger aphrodisiac that I found than
Watching
just
your own games back.
playing a very good game,
And
picking up lots of kicks, kicking lots of goals, and then often going back and yes, Lucas, just watching the game over and over. I thought that was just personal to me, and of course the company that I was keeping.
Terry, I think you should be honest with Sally and say the triggering stimuli was, of course, deep heat.
Yes, which meant that I was actually, because that was applied before a game, at halftime and after, so I was actually up, so to speak,
Okay.
for
And
quite a long time.
But that is because there's erectile tissue in noses.
There's actually not a... there might be. I don't think that there's erectile
You don't
tissue
have
in
to
noses,
just agree with
but
him
there
because
is-
you make some wild statement like that. I mean, you
Well-
are a health professional, yeah.
I don't think there is erectile tissue
Thank
in
you.
noses.
There we go.
We'll agree to disagree, and you'll be hearing from my solicitor, probably off air. But be careful with what you say from here on in, because we are recording.
The one thing that is apparently in some people's noses, but not in everyone's nose, is a little organ called the vomeronasal organ, which is difficult to say.
You ever shot one of them, Duncan?
No, I've done no work with the nasal organ. It's mainly inanimate objects, as I've pointed out.
And what does this thing do?
Well, it's tiny. It's only a couple of cells, and what it does is it picks up on pheromones. And pheromones were actually identified in humans back in the 80s, and they identified certain molecules, but there's a lot of questionable science around pheromones. Okay. Certainly for animals, it's very, very established, but for humans, I believe that there's certainly a pheromonal...
They sell them in vending machines.
Of course, Theramone is another wonderful dancer from the eastern suburbs of Melbourne, does a wonderful routine to Noiseworks' Hot Chili Woman.
Who do you think choreographed that for him?
You're kidding.
No.
There's nothing you can't do. Have you brought something in for Duncan?
Yeah, well, actually, Richard, I thought maybe all of you would like to have a go at this. This is maca powder, which is kind of, I guess, one of the favourite aphrodisiacs of mine in terms of it being a superfood. and it's actually quite nice. So I've got a teaspoon here. And you
Sure,
can all
because
have a little
at this
bite.
stage the list is pheromones, zinc, duck and Pinot, and Terry's footy videos. So, this we could boot it home with some whatever it is.
Are you taking that to the ball tonight?
How do you actually administer this?
Okay, so you administer it slow to start with. So you just have a quarter of a teaspoon.
Not there
today,
in the drink.
and you put it into water.
You put it into water. Oh,
yeah.
Thank you. That's good to know. How would you shoot this, Duncan?
Oh, look, I'd swing a bit of poly in and probably use a 50mm lens.
So just
for
a
that.
quarter into a cup.
A quarter into a cup.
Would there be a side effect to having the whole bag?
Yeah, there would be.
What would happen?
You would probably get diarrhea.
Okay.
And you'd probably, if you have a large dose, if you start with like a dessert spoon or a tablespoon's worth, you probably get a bit gluggy, you get a few detox symptoms essentially.
Right, so the goalposts here are love and diarrhea.
It's quite pungent. Is there oysters in this?
No, there's no oysters.
It's not really?
No.
It does have an oyster smell.
No, they call it the Incan radish as well, because it comes from the Andes, from Bolivia and Peru. And the Incans used to use it before they go into battle to make them more powerful and strong. And then legend has it that...
Because it's an aphrodisiac, they didn't just end up not warring and just make friends with the enemy, did they?
No, they didn't, but they did actually have to take it off them once they conquered the people because the women were in danger.
Look, I'm mildly committed to this show and what we're doing, but do I have to drink this?
Well, drink it if you don't.
Bottoms up.
Here you go.
We'll be later on.
Terry Wood and Lucas Dawson are drinking the maca root from the Andes. It was brought in by a naturopath to the stars.
Rank.
So what should they be feeling right about now, Sally?
They'll probably...
A lot of hate right now, actually, to be honest. But is it
I don't
work
think
slowly?
You could take your hand off Terry, please, Lucas. And
we just sit next to each
that's
other.
okay. Well, we've got the list. If we just run through it again, Duncan, for Aphrodisiacs, we are, of course, providing a service to lonely men out there. That is the point of this program.
Well, we've got the maca powder, certainly number one, although
no.
it doesn't seem to be...
Agreeing with Lucas.
No, we've got zinc, pheromones, duck and Pinot, and some very questionable tapes of old games that Terry may have taken part of. I don't think that's... we could obviously put a couple of them up on the website.
Didn't we say deep heat? Was that...
Deep heat.
It may take us longer than expected because those games are on VHS, Terry, are they not?
That's true, but I've been talking to Duncan about getting them transferred to not even DVD, straight to Blu-ray.
Straight to
Duncan.
Blu-ray,
Yeah, so that'll be
fantastic.
good.
Great.
That'll be available.
Good
Well,
stuff.
Thanks so much, Sally. Will you dare join us again, hopefully next week, to govern some more self-medication? And
Every week.
Well,
Terry...
depends on her availability, and she's a very attractive lady.
And, yeah.
So,
I've
Running out of
I'd like to
topics
thank
too,
you.
yeah. Okay.
Saturday night's a great night for whatever it is that Sally does with Duncan Armstrong.
Yeah, and that taffeta number she's wearing now, tonight's going to be a big one.
Let's
By the looks.
keep it positive.
Huge.
Please give our
maca
best
powder.
to Peter Luck. We'll speak to you next week. Hopefully, I'm seeing here on my rundown that we'll be talking about angina.
Wow.
Okay.
Topical. Right now, it's time to hear from a young man by the name of James Barnes. Jimmy Barnes with Driving Wheels. And if you are on the New England Highway this evening, keep left. You're listening to the Lonely Hearts Club on ABC Radio National around Australia, from the top end to Tasmania, from the east coast to the west, and from Thursday Island to Norfolk Island.
Hello, everyone at Thursday Island.
I'm your host, Richard Silk. I'm joined by Second Unit Director Duncan Jardine.
Good evening, and hello to any Doug Spencer fans feeling confused tonight. He will be back in this slot in 7 weeks' time.
Choreographer Lucas Dawson.
Ring-a-ding-ding.
And the surly yet sombre Terry Woods.
Hello again, Lonely Hearts, all around the country.
Is that going to be your catchphrase?
I think it's better than ring-a-ding-ding because people quite enjoy just being natural. Yours sounds quite contrived, but anyway.
We are the Lonely Hearts Club. We're exploring a broad range of topics with health experts, celebrity guests. We have regular segments, and of course from you, the listener. We'll be here for 8 episodes, 8 weeks, 10 till 12 Saturday nights. You can give us a call on the Lonely Hearts hotline, which is 1300 653 891. Of course, you could find us via the Radio National website, abc.net.au/RN. We're here to discuss men's hearts, health, hip pockets, in the pursuit of happiness. And we're here for 2 hours every Saturday night. We've just entered the second hour. It's 11:10 on Saturday evening. We'll be joined by Tim Rogers soon,
yes, please.
Songwriting savant and rock god from UMI. He's going to talk about all matter of things, animal and mineral and spiritual and sexual. But before we do, taking it upon myself to give something back to the listeners to help things be spiced up a little bit in the bedroom. It's a segment that I've called on a friend of mine to provide to the ABC listeners free of charge.
Did you know about this?
No, it wasn't weird. It's not on the rundown.
No, and it's time to hear from Mathilde as she does her segment called Pillow Talk. Sautez bonheur, joie dans le cœur. Pillow Talk with Mathilde.
J'ai perdu ma carte de crédit. J'ai perdu ma carte de crédit. I have lost my credit card.
It's Pillow Talk with Mathilde.
What?
Confusion.
It is all right to distance yourself from parts of the show. Like, that's allowed, isn't
Are
it?
we allowed to just bring in whatever recordings we want?
Well, it seems so.
That we've done in the week?
I
and
think
just not
I'd
tell
like,
the team?
Apparently that's the go. I'd like to distance myself from this building.
Okay, well, tell me, you don't think that was educational or helpful? How many times have you found yourself on a remote Tahitian island where being required to pay for having had some female company?
I charge it back to the room.
And then you have to pay for the room at some stage. So
I do a runner.
We just tick 3 boxes. According to the ABC Charter, we have to inform and entertain.
And confuse, so that's your 3 right there.
Okay, well, let's...
Hello to Weekend Planet listeners.
Doug Spencer, by the way, if you're listening, I did enjoy your set. I ended up at the Radio National Christmas party. It was around Christmas time, so I don't know where you were, but it was at Philip Adams' house. And tell you what, you haven't lived until you've had one of Philip Adams' homemade sausage rolls. Fran Kelly was the DJ, and Doug Spencer, by the way, was the... Fran got dug up at one stage just for a little set.
Right.
One song, 37 minutes.
Is that right? That's world music.
Well, that's what Doug does best. And anyway, Doug, get well soon.
And I hope I'm not revealing too much about Philip's sausage rolls, but diced carrots. I'll just put it out there.
Okay.
Before Tim Rogers joins us, it's time to hear from the daughter of the King of Swing. Here's Nancy Sinatra with Sugar Town. Nancy Sinatra singing about glucose. It's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful performer, I believe. She's still alive, and some say her father is too. Of course, Frank Sinatra, her father, lovely gentleman. I used to spend some time with him in Palm Springs. Where,
That's a lie.
He is a lovely man. No, that's not a lie.
You used to spend time with Frank Sinatra in Palm Springs.
Certainly.
Doing what?
On what day? What do you want to know?
Why have you gone red?
A Monday. Let's say a Monday.
Yeah, we do things. We do Monday things. We'd check our
Frank
diary.
Sinatra, Old Blue Eyes, the singer.
Yeah, we would check our diary for the week ahead.
Junior or senior?
I just called him Frank, so it could have been either.
That's just absurd.
Okay.
Yeah. Not sure why you don't believe me. We have a very special guest in the studio, probably the biggest that's ever entered the Radio National building. No disrespect to Annabelle Crabb. This gentleman was born Timothy Adrian Rogers in September, which would make him...
This September?
Yes, reborn, I guess. What star sign's September, Duncan? Do you take a stab?
Sagittarius.
There you go.
Oh,
Capricorn.
I'll second that. We could ask him himself. He is here.
Oh, of course. Good point.
Not for much longer.
If anyone would know what it's like to be around women, I think this guest would.
Leo.
Please stop interrupting. If anyone would know what it's like to seduce a woman, this guest would. And if anyone would know what it's like to write a song to serenade a lady, this guest would. Please join me in welcoming Australia, Mr. Tim Rogers. Hello,
That's
Tim.
a lovely introduction, Richard. And I'm a Virginian, as it stands, being
Really?
September 20.
Classic Virginian.
Classic Virginian.
Classic.
Lucas, just also want to add to something you were talking about earlier. There are actually 3 Farris brothers.
Are there?
And Andrew,
Yeah.
keyboardist, John, drummer,
Yeah.
Tim,
Accountant.
guitar.
Right. So they're all in the band.
They were all in the band. They were actually the band was originally called the Farris brothers.
Really?
The lesser-known Zeppo Farris.
Okay. How many Pengillies were there in the band? Just the one.
I've met a few of them.
Have you?
It's a wonderful. They've got, and of course, you can get down to King Island and Phillip Island to see a wonderful flotilla of penguins.
Pengillies. No. Yeah. Different things.
Oh, of course, ladies and gentlemen, Tim Rogers is many things to many people, but to us, he's someone who's followed his dreams and someone who's, I guess, for Duncan especially, who works in the arts, somebody who has dared to dream and to follow his creative curiosities. Tim, we're curious as to how that has affected you in your relationships, being somebody that obviously is a male, and the anthropological expectation that you would provide for your partners and what have you, yet working in the arts, we know that there's no real security for artists with any great regularity. How does one go about...
question pretty soon.
Okay, well, the question is... okay, I've got that. What star sign are you? The question is, how do you go about writing songs? Is there a method to your madness?
Finally.
I find that you need to get yourself into some vapid state of delirium. Everything being a travelling performer is dichotomous, that you are in the pursuit of love, but you're always away from the ones that you love. And that to start writing songs, you must get yourself into a passive delirium. Bike riding helps, long walks, or savage alcohol and drug consumption. To get yourself into the state where you're not actually thinking methodically about the metre and rhyme, hook, all these kind of things, but if you have any musical nous within you, any juices, they're going to start spilling and coagulating on the ground, kind of like spilt cottage cheese, into something resembling a song.
And do you always start with the lyrics? Or?
No. I find that if I write lyrics first, that it doesn't fit the music that I write. So no, the music comes first.
Tim, do you ever start with the video clip and work back from that?
I have.
Really? Could you give an example of that?
Well, Ben Gillies, the drummer from Silverchair, is an old acquaintance of mine. I used to do his taxes for him.
Right.
He told me that he was doing Latin dancing, and so I wrote a song with a particular Latin beat, rhythm, with an eye to getting him in the video, dancing with his partner, his new wife.
How did that turn out?
He doesn't return my calls.
Right. Because I have to say I've approached your management several times to maybe do at least second unit, like a shot of a drumstick hitting a drum, bit of water splashing up on your clips. Probably made the mistake of sending in the only video that I actually directed, which was Monty Video and the cassette strip shoot Diddy Wop Cumma Cumma Wang Dang. I never heard back from your management at all on that one.
I can give you an official reply just once the mics are off.
Okay. Great. Thanks for in touch.
Tim, I've been a big fan of yours for a long time. One of your songs has stuck with me since I first heard it in the mid to late 90s, I think it was. It's called...
The Glory Years.
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
The Salad Days.
It wasn't called that either. Do you remember a song you wrote called Heavy Heart?
If I had $1 for every time I got asked about that song, I would have $26,965.
How much have you actually got, incidentally?
At the moment?
Yeah.
That's quite a prescient question because I'm $800, so I can't pay rent this month.
Okay.
We do have a line if you'd like to contribute to the Tim Rogers Rent Fund.
Well,
1300 653 3891.
And it's funny you should say line because there was a line from that song that stuck with me for ever since. I'm like a waterlogged ball that no one wants to kick around anymore. That doesn't even rhyme.
Yeah, well, it doesn't even really make a great visual image either. But I was writing that song for Charlie Rich.
Don't blame it on Charlie.
No, I can blame a lot on Charlie, mate. Believe me. Writing it for him, but I couldn't help myself put in such as I've been accused of being very jingoistic in my writing, and because I put that line in, no one's covered it, and I haven't made a packet out of it.
Ball more. Does not rhyme.
Well, I think there are some dance moves that you do that don't match its previous.
Yes, but that's mise en scène.
Look, I think... Look,
we've already covered pillow talk.
It's the artist's prerogative. I'll give you another example on a very fine what rhymes with songs with cars and girls. Pardon me, Tim. You coined the phrase a Bowie compilation tape.
It doesn't really roll off the tongue when you say it.
I find it hard to say it any other way. Compilation tape has entered my personal lexicon.
But that's possibly because of your background.
Sure, understood.
Heavy Heart, Tim. When did you write that? What do you remember? What year?
1997.
97.
Mid to late 90s, yeah.
Well,
there you go.
It is a song that I would have. I've heard it and loved it, but it's a song that I wish was around in '93.
Blame that on Charlie Rich.
Yeah, you can blame it on Charlie Rich, but it's a song that I wish was around a lot earlier. I would have liked to have played it at my wedding, '93.
Why would you play such a sad song at your wedding?
Well, if you know how the marriage went, Tim, you wouldn't ask that question. But I married Wendy in 1993, and really, I think it was important at the time to be current musically. So basically at our wedding we had Whitney Houston's I'll Always Love You and A Whole New World by Peebo Bryson and Regina Bell. Now, one off the Aladdin soundtrack, one off the Bodyguard soundtrack. And basically we ended up, it was just easy to play the entire Bodyguard soundtrack because I Have Nothing and I'm Every Woman were favourites of Wendy as well. So what I'm saying is I really wish your song was around to play at my wedding. And I just wanted to say that. It's been a long time and I'm glad to have finally got to meet you to be able to tell you that.
Okay, I apologise.
But I think what Tim is saying is that the subject matter of Heavy Heart is perhaps not appropriate for a wedding union.
Probably should have played it at our divorce then.
Been watching so much TV, though. Think about that. You watch heaps of TV when you're married.
Well, Terry, perhaps we could put it out to the Radio National listeners, and if they'd like to Twitter us or call our membership hotline, that number again, Duncan?
That'd be 1300 653 891.
/?
Share,
no, / the phone number.
Right. Share with us your favourite songs to serenade. We'll pass them by Tim, and he can canvass them, and we'll have a look at what perhaps maybe Tim might have some suggestions for you to spice things up in your relationship. Right now it's time to go to a track that Tim's brought in.
And what we might do, by the way, is we might get all these songs and put them on a compilation tape.
A compilation tape? That what would that be called, Duncan?
I don't know. Let's throw the break.
This is a song that Tim's brought in, and we'll find out why after we hear it. It's called Get Down Saturday Night. Well, we're into our last half an hour of the Lonely Hearts Club on Saturday, February 12th, here on ABC Radio National. That was Oliver Cheetham, a song request by Tim Rogers, the incredible genius, the Australian and international music scene, who's chosen to drop into the club this evening. And I must say that's a wonderful pair of corduroys you're wearing, Tim. The song Get Down Saturday Night, of course, it says so much by saying so little, and we're talking about songwriting with Tim, a gentleman who was born in Kalgoorlie. Is that how you pronounce it?
Kalgoorlie.
There's an R in there, though, isn't there?
Kalgoorlie.
Where's the R?
It's two L's.
R.
Oh.
As in Roger.
Okay.
Well,
it's not Ghoulie, as in Ghoulies.
Yes, Ghoulie. Spell Kalgoorlie, Lucas.
Kalgoorle.
Wrong.
E.
It's with an I. And do you know who else was from Kalgoorlie? Besides the people from Kalgoorlie?
The leggy
Tom
Rhonda
Oliver?
Birchmore? No.
Tom Oliver?
I think it's someone that Duncan's worked with in the past. It's Mr.
Colin
Kevin
Man.
Bloody
Bloody
Wilson.
Kevin Bloody Wilson, KBW.
What tour did you do his concert?
I did a lot of location shooting for the tour for Born Again Piss Tank. My production company bid to do My Australian Roots, but we didn't get that. I think we did. Yeah, we did Piss Tank. We didn't get Roots.
Kevin Bloody Wilson, of course, touring at the moment on the back of...
Not sure we're allowed to promote that.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
say. Yeah. Tim Rogers, we're talking about songs that serenade. Of course, you've serenaded many men and women over the years. None more so than Lucas's Heavy Heart, I guess.
I just had a thought.
Hardly a
Just
serenade.
had a thought. How about I'm like a waterlogged ball, no one wants to kick around the mall?
Tim, Have you any songs that you like to serenade with that aren't your own?
I like making them up on the spot.
Okay.
I think that if you're going to serenade somebody... I once tried it with Vince Jones tunes when I was about 15 to the girl I was smitten with. But now I try to make them up and try and think of smutty rhymes. Vast Efrons.
Tim, I would imagine you're a man with a big vinyl collection. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah.
There must be a wing of the collection devoted to romantic music. What's in there?
Well, I do catalogue the records, their emotional
sure.
punching power, romance, scorn, vice,
hatred,
violence. Hatred and violence takes up a...
You got them together.
They're adjoined.
Yep.
What's under romance?
Oh, the Scissor Sisters. They're a band that I voraciously collect because I find that very romantic music.
Right.
It's romance with a lot of people, though, not just with one person.
Sure.
Chris Christopherson if I'm thinking one-on-one personal relations, Chris will be one, because I like to envisage myself as I grow older as being a grizzly old man that you kind of want to set up a little cubby house for and occasionally pleasure.
And be able to get some work with your Rhodes Scholarship.
Yeah, that's brought up a lot. There's, and Bob Hawke was a Rhodes Scholar as well, wasn't he?
He was.
I got that right?
He was.
So Bob Hawke, Chris Christopherson.
Both men who were prone to inducing tears.
And sculling yard glass. Have you ever sculled a yard glass like Bob Hawke did?
Never done it, actually,
Haven't
but
you?
I feel like it now.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the faults of my songwriting?
No,
anymore?
hang on. I was not being negative. I'm simply trying to give you advice as one professional to another. That's all I was saying. Incidentally, you're a big musical theatre fan too, aren't you?
I am, yeah, absolutely.
Any songs from musical theatre that you can think that are good for serenading?
Oh, Somewhere from West Side Story.
Oh, no.
Great tune.
How awkward.
Take Me to the Moose from Annie.
Yeah. Choreographed that for
sing
Aubrey
that.
Wodonga.
Clang, clang, clang went the trolley.
Did you see that? Did you see my...
No.
No.
Hakuna
Read some
Matata
reviews,
from
though.
The Lion King. Tim, it's good that you're here because Lucas, of course, he's often talked about how highly regarded he is in the industry. From your experience, is that the case?
Well,
Tim, do you employ choreographers, say, in your video clips?
no, I'd like to think they'll have a unique dancing style, and it's been tempting to put the word out to a choreographer to say, just shape my moves. And
What I
Lucas, I can
couldn't
tell
do
you by
for
you
you.
shaking your head what you could do for
Well,
me.
honestly, what I could do for you would be quite amazing.
All right, look, we should talk then.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Great.
St Kilda Bowling Club tonight.
Okay.
We did ask some of the Lonely Heart Club listeners to contact us via our Twitter page or our...
It's Twitter.
Sorry, via our Twitter page, via our Facebook, and via the website for www.abc.net.au are in the Lonely Hearts Club / And we've got some people on the line right now. Believe it or not, this is our first ever ABC callers. We're crossing live now. We asked you to tell us some songs at Serenade, and we see whether or not Tim Rogers agrees with you. We're going to Queensland now. Hopefully it's dry where you are, Glenn.
Hello, how are you today?
Wonderful, thank you, sir. What's a song that serenades in the land of Glen?
The land of Glen. Well, I'll have to agree with Tim there. I mean, depending on how inebriated I am, I do make up songs as I go. Doesn't matter what song's on the radio. I like to, mix it up a bit with the songs. But if it does come down to a song that I potentially want to get jiggy with it, it has to be Marvin Gaye's Sexual Healing.
Of course, that's the film clip, I believe, that Duncan Jardine actually did some second unit stuff on, cutting away onto the love potion bottle that the doctor removes from the cabinet.
That's exactly right, yes.
Glenn, can I just recommend, if you are in the mood to get jiggy with it, I do recommend Will Smith's song, Getting Jiggy With It.
Getting jiggy? Well, look, I suppose I'm a little bit old school, so with Marvin Gaye, I was brought up with that kind of music, and the whole gamut of the song. I mean, you can, it can be the eyes, if you will, to, hey, how's it going? And then to the eventual last verse, open up and let me in. I mean, you can take that any way you want, but,
Only one way I'm taking it.
There you go, hard, loud and fast. But,
Wow, this is...
I mean, it helps. I've got 5 kids, so I think the song has done me well.
Well, Glenn, I think that's certainly what happened to Queensland with the flooding. It was loud, hard and fast.
Correct.
Thank you for that. I think Tim's sort of squirming in his seat with Marvin Gaye. Is that something that you'd serenade with?
I'm a very big fan of Marvin's, 6'3" fan of Marvin's, but I find any song that's that overtly sexual and about the sexual act, I'd find a little, not self-conscious, but I think it's just a little too overt. So the other day, the person I was with had not really heard of the Doors much, and I found that comical. I could introduce someone to the Doors. But listening to the Lizard King, I found that was obtuse enough to create this atmosphere of
them taking
love
their
making.
clothes off.
It went a little bit further as well.
Yeah,
but listening to those records, which are full of pretentious French symbolist associations.
We're crossing to Victoria from Queensland. We're speaking to Kate. Kate, you have a song to serenade.
It's actually kind of more of an album. I think the XX album is proven to be one that gets people in the mood.
Did you say Def FX?
No, XX.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were a Fiona Horn fan there.
They're American, they're very soft and sultry. And
I think they're actually English.
English, sorry. And
Same thing.
Yeah, they're just basically, you want to get horizontal.
Well, that's wonderful if it's an album, and an album being 40 minutes. It's a healthy span.
Oh, Kate, you're perhaps revealing some stamina. Stay on the line. I think Duncan wants to have a word with you off air. Thanks for calling. Brad in Western Australia.
Should have found out how old Kate was, really.
Not important to Duncan.
No.
Brad in Western Australia.
How are you going?
It's great to hear from you. Great to know that we're reaching all the way to Western Australia. We're broadcasting all around Australia this evening, and we'll do so for the next 7 weeks. We're joined by the rock god Tim Rogers. What is a song that you would serenade and happily pass up to Tim to comment on?
Well, it really depends on what you're trying to achieve with the serenade, but if I was to try and woo someone with love, I suppose one of my faves is Otis Redding and These Arms Are Mine, which is a cracking track, and it's just, you can listen to the whole album and it's the same rhythm the whole way through, so you've got a lot of time to get some rhythm happening.
Is rhythm important in serenading?
I think so. It's the communication of the heart.
I'm not too sure whose arms they would be. But certainly we'll check that out. Tim, are you a fan of Otis Redding?
Yeah, look, I think that's a great choice for Brad. The desperate keening in Otis's voice always reminds me of my own desperation in that theatre of experience. Desperately wanting to be with your lover, desperately trying to present yourself as someone even better looking, more skills. I like it.
Desirable. Oh, well, thank you so much, Brad, and thanks for being our third ever caller on the Lonely Hearts Club.
Richard, can I just say, what was the second one there? Kate's one was X. What was it?
XX.
Oh, XX. Pardon me, I thought she was referring to the Uncanny X-Men.
No.
And their classic album, Cos Life Hurts. Do you remember that one?
COZ, was it? COZ?
I think it was, the cover was just a woman's ass and then hanging around like sort of dingleberries. The various members of the band, the X-Men,
well, that would hurt.
just lurking about near the woman's ass.
Of course.
Great album cover.
Any involvement for you with that?
Nothing, no. I tried to get to 50 years, nothing.
No.
Everybody likes to work. Couldn't even get third unit on that.
Brian Mannix, of course, the lead singer from that album. I did some income tax work for him. He wrote Countdown the Musical.
That's right, and all the music for Houseboat Horror.
Goodness, so wonderful. Well, I have some incredible lyrics here that I'd like to share with the Lonely Hearts Club members. Stop me if you've heard this. It reads as thus: to be alone is to be foolish. To be alone is curiously noble. To be alone ain't to be lonely. To be alone keeps you mobile.
Just vomited in my own mouth.
Yeah, so is it,
Anyone recognise those lyrics?
It's not one of your songs, is it, Tim?
Oh, yeah, it was.
It is.
Methamphetamine wasn't kind to me, was it?
Well, it rarely is, but it doesn't discriminate, which has got that going for it. That's actually from the song When You're Sad, an incredible song off The Luxury of Hysteria, which is a Tim Rogers solo album from 2007, from memory. Is that right, Tim?
That sounds right, Richard, yeah.
May I ask, what prompted you to write that? Was it a woman?
I know I was alone around that time. It was post a very traumatic time, and I was conscious that I was slipping into a rather deep depression. I beg your pardon if this is getting a little terse.
No. It reminds us of Terry Wood and the Fitzroy Football Club parting ways. Although he didn't release an album, it was on the news, though.
And unlike Tim, I kept my dignity.
By urinating on the...
Well, no,
I beg your pardon, you're insulting our guests.
Well,
I mean, he got an album out of it. Terry, what did you get out of it?
A charge for public urination.
No, some self-respect and dignity.
And 5 goals too.
If you must know, Tim, you might know the story, but at the end of my time at Fitzroy, they went up to Brisbane, and I decided not to go.
You never had to wear a Brisbane Bears guernsey?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
You decided?
I decided, yes.
You decided.
I decided.
On 99 games,
yep.
You decided to end your career before you went into triple figures.
Well,
you decided.
You say 99, 100, they're just numbers.
The difference between 99 and 100 games, though, is that one gets your life membership to the club and the other doesn't.
There is, of course, that great photo of Terry Wood standing at Brunswick Oval with
crying.
his bag and the jumper as the team bus drove off to Brisbane with the pads and the goalpost. Tim Rogers, thank you so much for coming in on a Saturday night. Before we throw to one of your songs, Tim, Lucas does have a present for you. He's made something for you.
I want to apologise for any offence that you might have taken.
No offence taken.
I absolutely meant none. I have drawn a little picture for you. I'm actually not just a choreographer, I'm a visual artist, and I just wanted you to have something to remember your time on the club.
Thank you. This is incredible. The caption at the top of the construction is Tim in the sky with diamonds.
It's and that's you. That's Tim. That's you with the Tim on the t-shirt.
Just to so you did that, not a 6-year-old child. That was you who did that.
All right, 2 words for you, Pablo Picasso.
Thank you so much.
People thought he was an idiot. The weeping woman had a nose for a chin.
What materials did you use for Tim's
texture?
It's When You're Sad by Tim Rogers.
What a noise in that song, isn't there?
It's called Guitars. Tim Rogers. Tim dropped in and spoke to some Lonely Hearts Club members about songs that serenade, and he's off to perform a gig right now. Somewhere in Melbourne, so he just raced off on his bicycle. We wish him well. If you have any questions regarding your heart or health or hip pocket even, about life and love, we'd love to hear from you.
Can I flag a show that's coming to Ballarat's Theatre Her Majesty's later in the year 2011? I was up in Ballarat a couple of weeks back doing some second unit work for Chris Lilly's new program, Angry Boys, now into its 9th year of filming, and I popped into Her Majesty's and picked up this fantastic program for shows that are coming. Have a look at this. Coming to Her Majesty's on the 17th of August is a show called An Audience with Frank Spencer. Have a look at that. What would happen if Frank Spencer, that well-meaning but, in quotes, incompetent, inept, infuriating and injury-prone man loved by millions around the world, had his own stage show? With crazy routines, a few stunts, hilarious dialogue and great music, and special guests Billy Connolly, Sammy Davis Jr., Dean Martin and Forrest Gump.
Now,
this show is bound to raise your spirits and have you laughing. Now, you're saying, who's responsible? Well,
Duncan, at least 4 of those people are dead.
One of them's fictional. George Harvey and Robert Pearson have performed in major venues throughout the world and are former members of the popular group The Four Kinsmen.
Duncan, that's Ballarat, did you say? No.
That's Ballarat. That's coming later in the year to Her Majesty's.
Anyone passing through Bendigo?
I wasn't able to obtain a theatre program from Bendigo, but I'm sure the audience of Frank Spencer would be going all over Victoria.
Following
a picture of Steve Bastoni holding a picture of John Howard.
That's a 3-hour performance.
That's all he does.
We, of course, the Lonely Hearts Club, we're available to stream or download in podcast as well, which you can access on the ABC Radio National website, which is abc.net.au/rn. And we'd love to hear from you. Of course, you can tweet us at Lone Heart Club. Nearly finished our first show, gentlemen. Of course, we're 2 days away from Valentine's Day. Have you any plans for Valentine's Day, Lucas Dawson?
Well, look, it is the opening night up in Albury-Wodonga of Showboat, and afterwards I am going out. Well, I've been fixed up. on a bit of a date, a blind date, with one of the ensemble's family members.
Will you tell us about that next Saturday at 10 p.m?
Just you try and shut me up.
Great. Good luck. Duncan.
I'll be meeting with my ex-wife Donna, and we'll be doing something which I think might sound depressing to some, but I see it as romantic. We'll be dividing up the DVD collection. It's something we've been putting off for a long time.
Goodness.
And I'm hoping to get most of the Blu-rays and a lot of the Betamax stuff too, a lot of rarities.
Do you do that on neutral ground, or are you visiting?
No, we'll be doing it at her place, but we will be accompanied by legal representatives.
Wow.
But it'll be very romantic. We'll crack a drink open or something and, away we go.
Well, good luck on the box sets. Terry.
Well, I'm glad you asked, Richard. Valentine's Day, my agent, Kevin Baby Doll Nixon. We've got a couple of projects on the go, but I'm actually shooting a pilot for a television show, Duncan, something that would interest you.
Is this the comeback we've been hearing so much about?
Well, I do believe that to come back you need to have gone.
Right, okay.
And that wouldn't apply to me, but
Sure.
it's a reality television show, Lucas.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know if you've heard of them. We're getting in on the ground floor, and it's a basketball reality television show. And
Why basketball is so popular in this country?
Well, I think the great Andrew Gaze and Leonard Copeland would agree with you there. We take a group of underprivileged kids and we get them together.
Right, are they underprivileged from the beginning, or do they become more underprivileged as the series progresses?
Well, that's one of the hooks, Duncan, is that they start quite privileged and become more underprivileged as the well, we're hoping that's where it goes. I play the assistant coach, and I'm the assistant to the head coach of this basketball team made up of underprivileged kid, Kim Hughes. Little known name.
The former Australian cricket captain from Western Australia.
Yes,
right.
Which may seem odd because, of course, we played cricket together when we were young, and this is basketball, but Kim was asked if he'd do it, and he said, I'll do anything. And so...
what's the television program, the reality TV show called?
Well, it's going to be called Hughesiers.
Right.
Which is...
Gene Hackman.
Gene Hackman.
Dennis
and,
Hopper.
I'm not getting the reference.
Gene Hackman was like the teacher of a ramshackle bunch of kids who, won an unlikely state basketball championship.
Well, when we're hoping that's where this television series will go.
Has Kim Hughes been chosen just so the title will work, or did you get Hughesy and then
much like
hit upon the title?
Merv Hughes said no.
Yeah, much like some of Tim's video clips. I think they went with the name first, Duncan, and then we worked from there.
And then you had a list. You went to Sir Robert Hughes. Could he do it?
Yep.
Wendy Hughes, Betty from Hey Dad.
Yeah, she said no.
Yeah.
The current Australian opening batsman, Philip Hughes, wasn't available.
I think they did audition him, and his technique was no good. So, anyway, Kim Hughes, very excited to work with him on this new reality basketball television show called
out of Kim?
Hughesiers. I'd say so. I think it's in the contract.
Chap,
I think it is in the contract that he will be crying every episode.
Could they have asked someone with a Christian name, Hugh, to have hosted it?
Hugh Sheridan from Rafters.
No, I can't get anywhere near the Rafters set.
Okay.
I don't know how to say this, gentlemen, but I think we've just finished our first ever episode of the Lonely Hearts Club. Lucas Dawson, thank you very much. Good luck with your date on Monday night.
Thank you very much.
Terry Wood, good luck with the filming of the TV pilot. Will you join us again next week?
I will do, Richard.
Duncan Jardine, have you got a shoot coming up next week that we can keep our eyes and ears open for?
I don't want to say too much, but Water Rats is on the way back.
What?
Goodness.
Yeah.
The Rats?
This time, Friels and Bizzo together. They were never seen together in the original series. That's about to change.
Wow. Well, 2011 is promising to be a great year. Thank you very much to all our listeners, all our wonderful guests. We'll be back the same time next week from 10 until midnight. And as we say here at the Lonely Hearts Club, may all your loving be free of cost. Right now, it's Trevor Chappell.